Welcome.
I'm so pleased to welcome Dr. Kevin Washburn. He is the current uh, Director of Library Programs for the District of Columbia Public Schools. And I want you to pay very close attention because he's going to talk about leadership. Yes, there are opportunities for school librarians to go into leadership through libraries. So I want you to sit back, take and listen very carefully because he has some information that you can use. Thank you so much for joining us today, Doc.
Thank you for having me and welcome everybody. My name is Kevin Washburn and I am thrilled to be with you. I'm especially thrilled to see all my amazing DC colleagues who have been part of the Boss Librarian and Friends Back to School virtual PD program and also in attendance, but also excited to see my friends from all over the United States who have been participating in this. I want to personally want to thank the amazing Miss Casey Boyd for developing this platform for us to be able to come together, have this kind of opportunity to connect, showcase our work, share ideas, and also to just really feel opportunities to be able to grow and shine. So, Casey, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are just a wealth of knowledge and power, and I just love you to death. So, my focus today is to share a little bit with you about some of the things I've learned over the years about leadership. And I want to encourage you to think about the type of leader you are and or that you want to be and how developing your understanding of leadership and leading will influence your ability to lead within any situation. So a little bit about me. If I can get this thing going. Okay. First of all, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so you can see in my little snapshot video here. I have been so fortunate to spend the bulk of my professional life as a librarian. 22 of those years has been a school librarian and in serving in a district leadership role. I'm the immediate past president of DC Library Association. I'm also a graduate school adjunct lecturer, faculty member in the school librarianship program for the University of Maryland and for Rutgers University. Um, I do research as well as advocacy work primarily in children's literature, particularly for children who are underserved or underrepresented, represented, represented or marginalized. I've had a little tongue tied today. I'm sorry about that. I do a variety of collection development work. I have written and researched in the area of information literacy, specifically in the PK-12 arena, which is, I think, drastically underdeveloped as a research area, as well as in regards to instructional technology, because I believe that there is a very much needed and strong relationship between librarianship, especially school librarianship, and educational technology. But let's focus on our topic for today. So, as you think about, and I want you to take, just kind of get your mind in the place where you're considering the topic of leadership. Have you, can you self-assess and be able to see what are the things that make me potentially a leader or whenever I'm drawn into a leadership situation, what are those attributes that I feel that I'm very successful at? And what are some of those attributes that I just wish I had some better practice, understanding, training, um, opportunity to see how I can grow in that area? Well, hopefully, with this presentation today, we'll give you some insight and some resources that will help you grow. And so, leadership is specifically honed into your personality. And so, if you understand your personality type, and how that personality how your personality and your desires fit within a larger context, how you work with people, how you solve problems, how you set goals for yourself, then all of that becomes part of a big picture in terms of being able to make progress. You know, at the end of the day, why do we want to lead or need to have leadership? And it's because we want to keep society moving forward in a positive, progressive manner. So let's take a look at understanding some of the leadership characteristics. So when we look at librarianship, particularly the classic librarianship role, it's often perceived as a stereotype that librarians are introverted. And I know many extroverted librarians, but at the same time, they choose to either set themselves under a very specific type of work practice that may not be the specific kind of output that you would think of an extroverted person. I have often been accused of being an extroverted person, but I can assure you I'm not. Just with years of practice and also dedication on my part to focus on being the traditional role of a leader, that is being able to have successful ability to speak to groups, being able to set a vision, being able to communicate that vision and engage others in helping us all move into a very purposeful direction has been strategic in the sense that it's something that I've worked on, I've done the training, I've done a lot of self-assessment to help myself move into that direction. And you can too. So I share a really interesting and thoughtful article here from Forbes on what it means to be a silent leader and how introverts can be excellent leaders. Now, if you're an extroverted person, don't feel like you're getting left out because I am going to be talking about how you can also take your skills and also joy and share that with others and manage group diverse and different types of personality types. So here is the issue about a stereotype, especially when we're trying to class people into different types of images. And this is going to be important as we move through this, because even though you might be able to assess someone and say, well, I'm going to be able to work with this person because they're X or Y or Z, it's important to help you or to encourage you to understand the fully realized version of a person. Okay. So in this case, you know, the problem sometimes also stems from the fact that librarians do work in isolation. So if they're especially school librarians who are the sole leader or responsible person for the library at the school. And so thinking about that scenario, sometimes librarians don't necessarily give them credit for the hidden leadership that they take responsibility for just simply by doing their job. After all, they are managing, especially by themselves, an entire program, as well as a the facility of the library itself. And so recognizing that as the potential for building the foundation on leadership, I'd like you to encourage everyone who has this as a goal to think about, where can they go next? Will that be something that they want to look into writing, research, publishing, seeking a mentor or other kinds of programs? So let's talk about leadership styles. And there are a bunch of tools and resources and philosophies out there about leadership styles. And you may have heard of some of these, and some of you may have not. So there's the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which I think is probably the most well known across the leadership industry. Then there's a program called the Energy Leadership Index. And then there's the Hogan Assessment, and that's been around for a really long time. And then one of my personal favorites is the color code, which is also now known as the color code profile. And so this was developed back in, I think it was 80s. Well, it's been around for a while by Taylor Hartman. I made a typo there. So it should be Hartman, not Harmon. And Taylor Hartman, I recognized through his research in psychology and personality studies that you could possibly use colors as a way of associating key attributes to individual personality types. So in this case, and some of these you probably think make sense if you were assigning a color to an individual's personality attributes. Before I go through this, recognize that many individuals may have a primary color, but they're not isolated to that color. They may be primary and secondary color, or they could even have two primary colors or more. So it depends on there's a lot of attributes that influence how a color might be associated with a personality. And so it could be their background, it could be their historical context related to the communities that they were raised in, their culture. So bear that in mind as we go through this. So just in regards to thinking about the color code, here are the general principles. So an individual who has a red as their primary color sees themselves as being very good technically. They strive to be right as well as be respected. They see themselves as strong leaders and love challenges. All right. I would say another attribute of someone who's red is they do not shy away from conflict. Okay. Blues. Blues have high integrity and a need to be appreciated. They're very much about details, focused on quality, and creating strong relationships. An individual that is white desires to be accepted and treated with kindness. They focus on their work logically, objective, and tolerant of others. Individuals who are primarily in the yellow group have a need to be noticed. They may also have a specific focus on having fun or enjoyment. They love life and socializing, and they want to be positive and spontaneous. So think of all these personality types and so in your mind, and also think about the individuals that you work with on a day-to-day basis. And could you possibly align a color or colors to that individual in terms of how they normally respond in a day-to-day basis? And then you might actually see, in terms of generalized work, in terms of prioritizing work, in terms of project management, in terms of commitment. So you can even subcategorize it. So here's a case study I want you to think about, and be reflecting on this case study in regards to the color types that we just talked about. So you have a book review committee. You've probably just had a challenge. And so the committee's meeting together to decide the action that's going to take. You as the district librarian or the person for the librarian at the school, you are leading this committee. And so on the committee, you have 6 individuals, all right? And what I've done is I've identified the individuals and I've given you a baseline color type for them. So in this case, you have a district leader. And now this doesn't mean the district library leader. It could be the district curriculum leader. It could be any kind of district leader. It could be even the superintendent. That person primarily lives in the blue arena. Okay, and so what did we know about a blue personality type? They have high integrity and need to be appreciated. They focus on quality and creating strong relationships. The next we have a parent, and they primarily glow on the red cycle. The red person is very much about focused on the technicalities. They want the processes or the work they do to be right and accurate and be respected. They have the need to lead, and also they feel that they can address issues. Next, you have an elementary librarian, a colleague at another school or somewhere in your school district, and they are white. Whites need to be accepted and treated with kindness. They are logical, objective, and tolerant of others. Next, you have a science teacher, and your science teacher needs to be noticed and have fun. They love life, socializing, being positive and spontaneous. Next, you have your community leader, who is red. Okay, and that could be from a nonprofit. When you're forming this committee, you should have a variety of voices, and that's from ALA best practices and to ensure the success of the committee in terms of being able to support the goals of the school or the school district. So as you're looking at the folks that are on the committee and their normal way that they like to be successful in life or operate, you can make or at least bring into ideas about how you're going to work with all those individuals to move the committee to be successful. So part of having in your job is leading this committee, you need to define what is the goal of the committee and what are you hoping the outcomes are going to be. In general, when you're leading in this type of capacity, you're going to operate with integrity. You're going to be looking for the group to make decisions that are in the best interest of everyone who's being served and eliminate bias and prejudice. But you also have to be mindful of potential pitfalls when you're working with, a diverse group of individuals. There's hidden agendas, external influences, prior histories, and I'm sure you can think of others. And so all of those attributes, when these individuals come to the table and you're reviewing the book that's being challenged or what other objective the committee is working on, it's important to be mindful of those things. It doesn't mean that these are necessarily negative because, we all have a variety of experiences we bring to the table, and we all have, unfortunately, influences that impact our work. And with hidden agendas, not all of them are necessarily bad, especially if, say, for instance, one of the individuals who are red personality type is hoping to use this committee as a way to springboard to other committees and be able to continue to make improvements in the school community, in the school district. Maybe they want to be on the school board, and this is a way for them to kind of get their feet wet. So you just don't always assume that a hidden agenda is going to be something negative, but it's good to kind of have a perspective to know that that might be an influencer. So when you look at the interaction of these groups, how do I use the color of green on this interaction chart because you have to assess your own, and I forgot to take the text off of the blue there. I meant to delete that because I don't want to have you identifying an attribute to the colors, because I think you need to look at this as a broad scale here. So are you a white, a red, a yellow, or blue in that attribute? Because that's going to influence the interactions of the group. If you are yellow and you're looking to stand out, you're exuberant, you want to have, to be a great experience, whereas your red person's wanting to get down to business and get this done and get it decided, and it has to be done right. How do you have harmony in this group when you are that type of leader? So there's going to be some give and take. And what you have, and I wanted to show also that, you have a red person who is on the outer scale, but then you have a red person who is behind, that is leaning in the back. They're there. They may be quiet, but at any point in time, they may activate and get into that potential wanting to take over type of role. So knowing these attributes, that's what's going to lead you to help you understand how you, with your own personality type, can work with a diverse group of individuals to get the group moving successfully to the outcome of making a decision for whatever the charge of the committee is. Okay. So I'm going to pause my share just for a second, just to kind of look at because there was quite a few items in the chat, and I just want to make sure I get a chance to respond to that. Yeah, and I'll get the I'll share the presentation now with you. I'll get that. Well, here we go. Because I have an index at the end that will be helpful. Okay, go back to Zoom. Here we go. There's my presentation for you. All right, so let's go back up to a little bit and see some of the questions. There are a lot of people just saying hi. There is a free version online at thecolorcode.com. So there is a free and there's a paid version of it. So that's a good way to kind of get yourself thinking about these attributes. Okay, we'll keep the questions coming, and when I come back to share again, I'll take another look. So, in conclusion, with understanding personality types and how it can be associated with leading. Luckily, in our society, we're not made of clones. That we don't all have see things the same and do things the same, and I think that makes for better decision making and a better cultural experience. And but at the same time, when you are in a leadership position or you need to have ability to keep a group focused on being successful, these attributes are going to be important so that you will be able to know yourself and also know others and lean towards success. Another area I wanted to share with you is networking. When you network with other librarians, especially like what we're doing here with KC and the Boss Librarian PD, these type of networks help you to improve your practice, and it helps you to see your potential in becoming a leader. One of the things that I have developed over the years is I do have my own personal LibGuide page, and I share a bunch of resources there about advocacy, about developing as a leader, seeking leadership opportunities. And I encourage you to visit my LibGuide, and hopefully there'll be some resources you can take in there to help you. This past year as the president of DC Library Association, it wasn't necessarily a job I wanted, but it's very much a role that I tremendously enjoyed. It was one that I knew that if I want, I cared deeply about DC Library Association, and I wanted to make my mark in helping them develop a leadership pipeline. And I feel like we've gotten one step closer to that this past year in the work that myself and the other board members strive to accomplish. So DC is Library Association, or DCLA, is in great hands with our new elected president, Edgardo Giro, and our amazing, wonderful new Vice President-elect Ebony Henry. If you know those two individuals, I'm sure you love them as much as I do. Here's my resource list that for the different things that I shared today. There is a link to an article that I especially talks about the different types of assessments. It's an Indeed article and it's very useful. And then of course my LibGuide. So with all this, let's think about the takeaways that we have in today. So I really appreciate you chiming in. If anyone has a question, raise your hand and Casey will recognize you. And then last but not least, I only do two social medias. I do LinkedIn and Facebook, and I welcome you to connect with me in those two platforms. And let's see. Well, this was a good question. So, having heard from me and heard a little bit about my history, what do you think is my color code? Any guesses?
Carpathia says red.
I'm getting quite a
Right?
few white and blues,
Okay.
and so a lot of folks might say red. I am a red blue, more blue than red, because in my work, I have a high need for competency. So that's my personal baggage, which means that I drive myself crazy trying to be accurate and correct. But the driver for that is the integrity of my work, and I want it to have excellent quality. But at the same time, I have the ability to address challenges. So I I have a little bit of all of them, but it's mainly blue red as my primary color attributes. And so in working with me, what individuals quickly find out is that if we can focus on the work and make sure it's done well and it's organized, then you know what? We're going to be incredibly successful and joyful along the way. So, my friends, that comes to the end of my presentation. Casey, I think I got us back on time track a little bit more so. So, any other comments or questions from the arena?
I can tell you one thing, you're getting a lot of love in the chat.
I see that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you haven't, give him some love. This is one of the reasons why we love him so much in DC, because of all the great work that he's doing with us and helping us think about libraries differently and how to show our worth and demonstrate our worth to our administrators.
Yeah.
Between Dr. Washburn and Nijma Isab, who you have met yesterday, they have really pushed us into a different level of thinking so
Mhm.
that we operate so much differently. And I do want you to see Janine's presentation, Doc. It shows the
Wonderful.
work. It shows the work of you and Nijma and the influence, because it
That's
was
great.
excellent. It was excellent. Yes. So thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate you. We
Yeah,
appreciate you.
unfortunately, I have to drop off because I'm going to another important program, but I love you all. My colleagues, my friends, my librarians, my library peeps, um, you know, take in all this great resources and information that the Boss Librarian and Friends are showcasing for you. And I look forward to hopefully meeting you all either online or in person in the very near future.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.